What up? Dang, I got nothing. No sound. Shoot. I don't think this is working because I don't see anything right here. Dang it. Tell me something, guys. Tell me something. I don't see the green, so I don't think y'all can hear me. Dang it. Shoot. Okay. This should work. Can y'all hear me? I can't say she can hear me. She, right? Thanks, Gary. Okay, cool. I was nervous, man. Does it sound okay? Is it too low? Does it matter? All right. Greetings, everybody. Man, that's a load off. Because usually I can see a little green thing on my screen by my microphone that shows that it's getting feedback. So I'm happy that y'all can hear me. I feel like I haven't done this in a while, but I wanted to give you guys a few updates and just kind of hang out for a little bit. I plan to be on here for about an hour or so, half hour if I can manage it, to get all the information out. But what's happening? What's up, Gary? What's up, 99? Daphne Santos? That's a new name. Welcome to the live. Eagle, what's happening? Ron G, what's up? David, Ulysses, good to see you, brother. The Gardening Artist. There you go. That's a good name. I like that. Hey, Lisa, finally made it to a live. Hey, welcome to the party. Hey, Linda. History. Boom. Clutch. The download. I saw you commented early. Hopefully you're around here somewhere. Greetings, man. Thanks for coming out. It's been a hot minute. I'm doing okay. I've been better. I'm doing okay though. Thank you for asking. And it's funny because it feels like it's been a while, but I know it's been a while, but my last live was literally like, they said it was a week ago. But YouTube, they don't go up to 2 weeks until you hit like 14 days. So it's probably been like about a good 10, 12 days or so, something like that. Hey, 2%. What's up, MJ? Oh, man. That's a good question, Eagle. I'm going to talk about that in a second. This is just for the community folks, because then we could just hang out. People, I like to manage expectations, because people be coming in here and talk about, oh man, why don't you talk about the solar? It's like, just for the community folks, and y'all understand what it's hitting for. Um, first thing of note is my freaking Renogy panel falling victim to the streets, man. It belongs to the streets now. If anybody is in Pennsylvania and wants it, or if anybody's anywhere in the U.S., what do they call it? The contiguous, whatever it is, the 48 states. If anybody wants it and is willing to pay shipping or whatever, I'll try and figure it out and send it to you. Um, I don't know what to do with it. I'm not going to bother with it. I am going to test it just to see if it's still working. I wanted to do it that day, but we didn't have good sun. So that would have been a waste of just miserable expectations. But it's ultimately okay. Stuff happens. It's cool. It sucks, but it's cool. I kind of felt myself feeling like it was just $100. $100 is not a little bit of money, but in the grand scheme of things, actually, that reminds me of Will Proust talking about how much solar panels were when he started out. And he said a 100-watt panel was like $500. And he was like, and you still have people today complaining about how expensive solar is. And he's like, dude, get a grip. I get it though, but I only have one 100-watt panel because I sold my two HQST panels. So I have that one Renogy 100 watt, and then I have my Renogy 50 watt, my OG panel. And I almost bought another one. I didn't almost buy another Renogy. Because here's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to test out putting the two Renogy panels in parallel and then connecting them to the other panel, the 200 watt or the 190 HQST in series. I wanted to be able to show you guys me actually doing that, not physically doing it, or maybe, but just so you can see what kind of output comes and it working and not blowing up the EB120, because that's the only device that I own that you can do that on. What's up, Black Coffee? I say, yeah, that's what's up. Hey man, Lead Farmer sent you. Thanks for coming over. Because people be sending people places and sometimes they don't go. So I appreciate you for coming over. Hey Pamela. Monique King says I got the EB70 today. Finally, that's what's up. I like that dip. It's on my top floor now, and it's performing quite nicely. But let me circle back to that. So let me finish this thought. I wanted to do that, but the panel broke. My Renogy panel broke, and I don't have an ability to do it anymore. I almost wanted to order another Renogy panel, but what's exciting about that? So I thought about getting the HQST. HQST has a couple panels. They have the OG 36 by 26, which is the ones that I have, that I had, that I sold. And then they have like a newer one that's 32. Let's just say it's 33. It's 33 by 26. So it's a little shorter. And I was going to order that. I may still order that one. But I was kind of debating on it and thinking about like, man, do I really need to spend that $86 or $82 right now? And it was like, not really. I mean, I have this 100 watt Renogy panel hooked up to my freaking Rock Pals, like, because it pulls in 80 watts. But I'm so sick of that Rock Pals because it has a proprietary port and I can't charge it anywhere else but there. So it's a pain in the butt. But how I'm wired, if I have stuff, I like to use it. Which brings me to another point. I'm thinking about giving the Rock Pals away, but we'll deal with that a little later. So I did not order the panel because it just seemed like a waste of $100 in this particular season. I thought about getting it just because we don't know what stuff is going to be like with these freaking barges and big Walmart, which is what I call China, which is a little disrespectful. That's a whole culture out there. They're in the homeschool area in one of the trays. So I don't know, but I'm not going to buy it because I don't need it. I have another, I'm just going to call the HQST panels 200 watts. They're 190s, but the voltage is so small between that one and the 200 watt rich solar that I have, which is at the front of the house, that they're pretty much 200 watt panels for the sake of conversation. So it was like I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I could save that $100 and do something else with it, or not do anything with it at all. But I was curious about it because I wanted to see what that form factor is like, and I wanted to compare it to the Renogy because it's an $86 some odd dollar panel compared to Renogy, which is $97 now. It's like getting to another Renogy panel. It's like, where's the variety in that, especially as a YouTube creator? So I just said, you know what, I'm not gonna buy another panel. I guess I could zoom these comments in. Hey, Dominique, what's up? Shah Sahavi. I don't know why I say your whole name. I just think it's cool. It flows. I'm cooling, man. I'm cooling. New subscriber. Thanks for subbing, Fridge. I appreciate it. Shout out to Lead Farmer 73 for sending you over. I hate when the comments move on me like that. They zoom down. We have them in Canada now, and I got it for $200 off. You have what in Canada now? The 120? Oh, the EB70. Okay, I connect the dots. It's hard. Ulysses said, "Hey, did you see Lead Farmer had to send his EcoFlow back to the factory?" I did see that. It's like I commented. It was like it's a rite of passage, man. We all got to send them back at some point, which is sad. I think it's because they pushed the envelope. So it's like a gift and a curse to its consumers. I can't says, wait, want what? Cadet? Cadet Heart? What's happening? Shy says he ordered the Babine. I was looking at the Babine. I'm not in the market for a power station in particular. And the Babine is cool. I don't know how fast it charges. I think it charges at like 85 watts. And I'm kind of like, I want something that charges at 100 watts, even still to this day. I do. Melissa, what's happening? I'm having to get a new brick for my AC 200p. Blue Eddie says I received a defective AC adapter. I've kind of heard some stuff about them adapters. Paycheck had an issue with his adapter. Maria MJ, she possibly has an issue with her adapter. I actually have the 120, the EB120 downstairs charging up now on my like charge, discharge, recharge cycle. And I was kind of concerned about the adapter. I thought about it, but I just let it be. It is what it is. RVing with G says I'm an OG. RVing with G says, are you reading chat? Is this a talk or people asking questions? We just hanging out. I have a particular set of things that I want to share with the community, and sometimes I read the comments. And I kind of answer questions in between, or I wait until the end and kind of start taking questions. B3 Outdoors says picked up a Go Labs, runs my 12-volt fridge for a day and a half, which is plenty. That's what's up. Um, okay, what do we have here? What do we have here? All right, so the Renogy panel is like, The EB120, it's doing pretty good. I'm still gonna figure out what I'm gonna do as it relates to turning it and that battery shuffling around like that. I wasn't concerned about it when I was doing the unboxing. I hadn't really processed through it. Um, I don't plan on necessarily moving that thing around a lot, but eventually I would have settled into it moving like this. Should it move like this? I need to reach out to the Blue Eddie contact in the group that I was talking to about it to see what they would have me do. So we'll see. I'm also going to share the video with them to see what they think about it. They could find the video interesting, cool, peculiar, any of those things. What's up, CE Holmes? What's going on? Hey, Darlene, thanks for coming on the live. Melissa says, yes, my adapter is now only giving me 22 watts and I'm at 63%. I hope they send my replacement adapter out soon. Yeah, Paycheck had an issue getting his for a while, but hopefully supplies are a little more abundant than they were when he was having his issue. It took me forever to kind of discharge the EB120. I was charging power stations with it and stuff like that through the USB-C port. I'm really fond of power stations that charge via USB-C. That's like, man, I love that. I've always loved it, but they're starting to put them into power stations more and more and more. The Energizer has it. The Go Labs has it. The Ctechi has it. I just discovered that the Agwe has it. The Agwe, I did a video on that. They sent it to me for free. I didn't know that it had USB-C input charging, which is very interesting to me because it's very cool to me because what I was using before to make sure that I got the max is I was using a USB-C to 5521, and that wasn't necessarily working reliably for me. So I was a little bummed about that, but it also could have been the Rockpal's fault. It gets weird charging those devices with that cable. It's a whole thing. Um, oh, okay. Is that Kai Dat or Key Dat? Key Dat Heart. Try eBay for a charger. Sometimes they may have it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that person doesn't want to buy a charger. They bought an AC 200p. It's under warranty. Blue Eddie should send it to him. That for sure, 100%. I wouldn't buy one either. So the EB120 is charging now. It's cool. It's not a new device. It's the EB150, but smaller. there's not a whole lot to report about it. One thing that I did notice that I wasn't necessarily keen on is that it doesn't have any 5521 ports. That's kind of a bummer, but for what I bought it for, that doesn't necessarily matter. Again, I have a bunch of smaller power stations that charge via USB-C, so I'll just use that 45-watt port. Or I've been entertaining getting a 100-watt 12-volt adapter. Wayne sent me one a couple weeks ago, and I kind of wasn't in the market for one, but I'm kind of slowly starting to research them. I'm not impressed with any of the offerings out there right now, but because I have that Energizer and I could possibly charge that from any power station via DC at 100 watts, that's interesting to me. I'm intrigued by that. All in the soul, what's happening? Byron, what's going on, man? Jason Noy, hey. Ctechi actually got back to me. They found a software bug with the MPPT solar charge controller in a 240 watt hour model. They will make a revised edition and drop the price on the current model on Amazon. Thank you for sharing that. They emailed me too because they're supposed to be sending me their larger model. And then they shared all of that. And they undoubtedly, I'm sure, I'm sure they figured that out because of your video, Jason Oy. Jason Oy has a video about tech, and he does a lot of stuff on solar and all that jazz. Very thorough channel, very exhaustive, very like complimentary to all the other solar channels that you guys follow. So check Jason Oy out. He has 10,000 subscribers too. Tip my hat to him for sure. 99 says, I feel like I'm an old man out with my power stations. I have mine mostly for backup power. Other folks actually run things in their home daily. I run things in my home daily. I thought about doing an updated video on why I got into solar. I have like an OG video that explains that. But it's kind of good to revisit those themes as you get new subscribers and stuff like that, because people, they have these preconceived notions, and because they don't know you, they jump to conclusions and so on and so forth. But just quickly, I'm from New Orleans. We lost power all the time. So that's something that's super embedded in me. So I like to have power. I've always been that way. I like to have flashlights. I'm into knives and all kinds of stuff. So solar is important to me from a preparedness kind of mindset and if the lights go out kind of mindset. And I'm also very economical and strategic. So if I have something that can pull in power from the sun, I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it as long as the sun is out. I'm going to use it. That's just how I roll. And I like to say that it saves me pennies, but they're my pennies. Thank you for attending my TED Talk. MJ says loves knives too. Man, Peter McKinnon has a video about the Mini, the iPhone 13 Mini versus the Max. Go all the way to the end where he does a pocket dump. He has a knife that he pulls out in that video that is very nice looking. And I'm sure it is probably really expensive according to what I want to spend. I have two Kershaws that cost me about like 30, 40 bucks. And I want like a Benchmade. Anyway, I don't want to get into knives. Jason Noy says, I was surprised they were so honest. Thanks, Ive. Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Kudos to them. I was like, I'm glad y'all tested and y'all figured it out, because they were supposed to send me one. And they were like, yeah, we could send you one with the problem. And then when the software comes out, we could send you that. And I was like, yeah, do that. Shoot, that'd be a learning experience for me to see how that stuff works. How do they actually put new software onto devices? I was just intrigued by the whole thing. Thanks for subscribing to Jason Noy. It's a cool channel. All right. Let's see here. Oh, so another thing that the two panels would have allowed me to do was to test this claim about the 150. Now, I don't have the 150, but to test this claim that the 150, even though it says it has a 60 volt max, it's actually 68 volts of input that it can take. Why that's important is if you have a panel, your panels are typically, well, I shouldn't say that. Most rigid panels, 100 watts, 12 volt panels, 200 watts, they typically live at about 21 volts. So I can't put 3 panels in series because remember, series combines the voltages. So I can't do 21, 42, 64. No. Yeah, 64. I think that's it. Um, if the limit is 60, but they say that the limit is 68. I actually just watched a video by a guy. I can't remember who commented, but it was under Jason Nord's comment. Somebody shared the comment that the video of a guy who was showing that Wayne, what's up, brother? He was showing that you could actually get up to 68 volts by putting he had a weirder he had a different setup than I would do. He had 3 100-watt panels, both strings in series, and then he paralleled them jokers. So if I could just explain that for a second. So there are 3 panels in series. Each side goes up to, let's just say, 60 volts for simplicity. And then when you put them dips in parallel, if y'all watch my series in parallel video, y'all understand this. Parallel combines the amps then, and then the voltage stays the same. So I think he said his came up to about 64 volts. He tested them with a voltmeter, which is very important. The EB150 should have over voltage protection in terms of giving you an error message. I wouldn't do that if I was y'all. I would get a voltmeter and test it, unless you're willing to go through the whole process of dealing with them and returning it and all that jazz. But their paperwork says 60 volts. I don't know how I feel about that as far as advising you guys to try it, but I was going to try it. Because I don't have that Renogy panel, I don't essentially have a way to put 3 panels in series because I could pull my rich solar from the front, but I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going to pull. I'm not committing to anything. What's up, Wayne? I see you. I thought about doing it anyway. So if I still had those Renogy panels, I would have did it for sure, 100%. I also want to do a test of putting mix match panels in both parallel and series so that we can see realistically what happens to the amps and the watts that come into the device, because I'm sure that's a question that people have. But my understanding is that when you put mix match panels in parallel or series, however you do it, whatever is at stake, it drops down to the lowest common denominator. So if I put a 200-watt panel connected to a 100-watt panel, for the sake of simplicity, you would essentially have just 2 100-watt panels, and it's not worth it at that point. Why bother? I could go into that in a little more detail if you guys are interested, but I was going to do the video at some point. I'm still going to do it at some point when we have a nice sunny day. Question. How are you guys doing with your sun shifting? I've had my panels through a winter, so I kind of understand how my show is going to go. But I didn't have such big panels last winter, so this is going to be interesting. I had those 2 HQST square panels. I could put those things up on like a folding TV tray. I would put something like non-stick on them. I had like a bath, a shower tub so that the kids don't slip. We had like an old one, and I would put that over my wood table, and then the panels wouldn't slide anywhere, and that worked out just fine right up against this like brick wall right here, but on the other side. That worked fine for me. It gave me the height that I needed to get it past my fence line or my rail line right here. And it worked out good. But with these 200-watt panels, and I only have one 100-watt panel now, I'm gonna have to figure something else out. And I don't know how that's gonna work. I may have to settle for whatever sun I can get from the panels while they're laying flat, which is something I've done before. I have. 99 says, I just bought my first Kershaw knife. It was a combo knife, came with a spork, spoon, fork. That's funny. You explained a spork. Love it. Yeah, Kershaw's what's up. I like Spyderco knives. I like Benchmade knives. There's another brand, Griptilian. Griptilian, those dips are the best looking knives that I've seen. from people who talk about knives on YouTube. There's like a mini griptilian. I think that mini griptilian is like $100. That's a bit much for a knife. I would use something like my birthday for an excuse to get something like that because I'm not spending that much money on it. But then the griptilian is probably like 200. But they are nice looking knives. Blue and gray, good stuff. Good stuff. Byron says I overpanel during the wintertime. It still charges good. Yeah, I have a video about overcast days, and that's essentially what you can kind of expect, maybe a little bit less during the winter. But we get good sun in the winter. I didn't feel like slighted during the winter months when I had those two panels in parallel. Here's something that else that I considered, which may be useful to you guys who have 150s or multiple devices. I don't think I'm going to do it, but I considered because I still have another 200 watt or 190 from HQST coming for my EB120. They haven't shipped it yet. Who knows when they'll come back into stock? I'm pretty sure on Amazon they say currently unavailable. I was thinking about actually hooking those in parallel because if I hook them in parallel, then those panels can work on any power station that I put down there. But it's not realistic for me because the only other power station that I have that takes 8mm is the Jackery. And I still use that Jackery. Actually, it's downstairs charging off of solar now. I mean, it's not charging, but it's plugged into the solar now because my EB120 is charging from the wall. In my discharge, charge cycle, I use AC for that process. And then after I'm done with that, then I put them on solar. And then they very rarely go on AC again. But let's say if the EB70 wasn't up here in its static position and on a 200 watt panel, if I needed to swap that out, let's say I wanted to use the 120 upstairs and put the EB70 back downstairs for a reason, if the panels are in parallel, it's a waste of 400 watts, quote unquote, but it could power it. If I put the panels in series, which I will end up doing, I couldn't plug anything else into it because none of my power stations can't take panels in series. The voltage goes too high. Hopefully that makes sense. But I thought about it. I definitely thought about it. The download says, "Your solar man in the house. My saving stack is getting big." Michael Corbett, new name. I don't recognize it. I've been running Harbor Freight panels for about 5 years. A new, doing great. I'm about to move up to the HQST panel. I don't know if that's a move up. I don't own the Harbor Freight panels, but Harbor Freight stuff has always struck me as slightly overpriced budget stuff. That's how I feel about it. Lair Farmer, he really likes the HQST panels, the Harbor Freight panels. So I don't know if that's a move up. I don't even know if I consider any panel to be better than the other one in that regard. It's just how much they cost. They're all going to give you about 80% output. So it's like, I guess my HQSTs, I've seen something like about 67 watts, 70 watts from them. But that also has to do with your temperature and your angle and all of that jazz. Like during these months in your sun, you'll start to notice that your panels are going to be putting out more output now because it's cooler. During the summer months, you think that they would be like John Blaze, but when panels get hot, they tend to not perform as well. So that's why in winters, when I have good sun, it's like it's fine. As long as the sun is out, it's like solar's cranking. C homes, are panels more efficient higher up or closer to the ground? Well, they need airflow. So, you know, you got to be able to have some air go through them. It's the same thing I was just talking about, the heat. If you don't have any way for that heat to escape, then they start to lack efficiency and not produce as much power as they should. Have you seen Bluetti's new 200 watt portable panels? If you're talking about the panels, yeah, I saw somebody. It looked a little flimsy, but I was impressed with the fact that they were wired in parallel. That's another point that I wanted to make, something that I omitted. I saw a guy do a video. Either Wayne sent me the video or Somebody sent me the video. They may have emailed it to me. But anyway, it's the PV200, I think. And the thing about parallel is the panels are treated separately. So that 200 watt panel, the dude put a towel over it and it was still getting like 73 watts. Whereas like his other one, the SP200 that everybody who has that panel has, it's wired in series. Series treats whatever is connected to it as one panel. So whenever you get shade on any of those panels, to the degree that it impacts the panel, then the whole string of all four of those panels are impacted. That's an interesting thing you have to take into consideration, that I have to take into consideration. That's another reason why I was considering whether I wanted to do series or parallel, because if I put these panels out here in series, then they're one big 400 watt panel. And if shade gets on one of them, let's just say it's enough to knock out the power by like 50% or more, then it's going to knock out the whole thing. So you may have, I hope I'm being clear. So if you have two 200 watt panels in parallel and one of them gets shaded, whatever you're getting from the other panel is unimpacted. If they're in series and one of them gets shaded, the whole thing is impacted to the degree by which the first one is impacted, which is typically about 50 to 75% loss in power. So you can have a whole 400 watt, 200 watt panels together to make 400 watts, and they could be putting out like 25 watts. And that's something that you would probably get if you had one 200 watt panel just connected to it if it got shade on it. I hope that makes sense. If anybody has any questions on that, let me know. Kathy says it's like those old Christmas tree lights. Yeah, that's a very good example, Kathy. Very good example. One falls out, the whole string falls apart. And then you could tell, like, when things kind of progressed, then they started to only knock out portions of the string. And then now I think they're to the point where one light going out doesn't really impact the string anymore. And that's because they're wiring those things in some form of like parallel. And then you can be strategic about a series parallel type of combination, like the dude who had the three panels in series and then he put them in parallel. So those three panels together all work as one, right? And then they're in parallel. So if this one gets shaded and this one's in the sun, these three will still produce as much power as they can, depending on like sunlight and all that jazz. If they were all in series and this one was shaded, then the whole string is pretty much done. That's my understanding of it. DeMarco, have you ever thought about getting EcoFlow's new Mini Delta? I have not. I mean, I did think about it. The HSN QVC or whatever deal that gave you the device and the panel for like $8.99 or $9.99 or whatever it was tempting, only because of the panel savings, because their panels are really expensive. So getting a 200 watt panel at $200 was like cool. Hey, MJ. Oh, you saying hello to somebody who said hello. Okay. Ulysses says my house faces north and south, so I'm able to get good amount of sun most days. No huge trees in the way in the backyard. Gary says he loves his Mini, the Delta Mini. That's what's up. It's a cool little device. I'm not the kind of person that can purchase something without regard to everything else I'm aware of. You know, it's just how I'm wired. Excuse me. Pardon me. Excuse me. Jason Lloyd touched on something that I wanted to update you guys on. The Ctechi, the first one that they sent me, the 240 that I have seen as cheap as 150. I think it's gone down as low as 125. It died on me. It's a 110 watt. Yeah. Wayne says it's a 110 watt panel that comes with the Delta Mini. So getting that for $200, because the device wasn't a device like $699 or $799, and then you were getting a panel for just $200. I thought that was cool. I'm not big into portable panels, but when portable panels are like $2 per watt, that's kind of appealing to me logistically or economically, because anything more than that is like you lose me there. 34 minutes. So the Ctechi, the first one they sent me died. I had an issue with that Ctechi. I want to do a video on it. I'm going to mention it in that video, going through like testing, charging it, and so on and so forth. When it died, I noticed that you couldn't get it back to life with USB-C. You had to use the AC adapter or the 12-volt adapter. Then it died on me, and I was like, okay, I guess I can't use USB-C. It didn't wake up from anything. I tried the AC adapter, the 12-volt adapter. I tried a 5521 to 5521 male. I tried solar. I tried everything I could think of, but it died. They sent me another one. When I record the video, I'll mention that in the video. But that's what's going on there. And Jason Noy talked about how they discovered an issue with their MPPT where 100-watt panels weren't working with their device very well. So they're doing something to address that. And they also, they're going to, I don't know, they're going to do something with the pricing. I don't want to get into that. What's going on, Nicole? Gary says it was $799. Okay, that confirms what I was talking about. $800 for the dip, $200 for the panels. I thought that was a good look, but then I wasn't impressed with the mini. It's like $800 for something that wasn't LiFo. I think it's 800 cycles, right? They kind of went from being on the older version, and I think it was a misprint that kind of impacted them. But they typically said when it first came out, the first Delta came out, it was 800 cycles to 60%, which was awful. And then somebody kind of figured out that it was a typo or incorrect information in the booklet, but it was 800 cycles to 80%. So I don't know. I did spend $800 on the EB120 just to keep things in perspective. That's 1,200 watt hours with a 1,000 watt inverter, and it charges from the wall at 200 watts, which makes you kind of think about things. But that's its real price. I feel like the $799 on the mini was an introductory price, right? I don't think that was the real price. Would you get the Babine as it is now back in stock? I'm not compelled by it. I think I saw that TN Frank and Jason Noy said that it charged at 85 watts. The next thing that I spend money on in my mind, if I ever even spend money on another power station, just in terms of like what's out there now, I want something that charges at 100 watts in some capacity. Who to thunk it? Give me a second. I'll circle around to that. Susan, I'll circle back to that too. All right. Okay, yeah, we can answer those questions, and then I'll move on to my next subject. Okay, 849 is not crazy for that. Gary says the Delta Mini is 849 now. All right, Susan asked, can I put a 100-watt panel with a 240 watt hour Jackery when it's recommending the 60 watt? I'm pretty sure you can. And when I say pretty sure, I mean like I'm 99% sure. But I don't think it'll charge any faster. But it's a good situation to have that 100-watt panel because essentially, like Byron mentioned, you're over paneling it, and it makes it easier to get those 60 some odd watts that it's gonna pull in. I don't even think it's 60 watts. I think those devices charge it at like 42, so they get about 42 watts. So the 60 watt is a good pairing, but with the 100 watt, you don't have to work as hard angling it to get that 42 watts in, but you have to be comfortable with the fact that you're throwing away 38 watts. What is it, 42? 58 watts. Whatever it is. I don't know. It's funny because I math pretty good, but not when I'm not dealing with math. It's like my brain is not in math mode. So yes, you can put a 100-watt panel, but I don't think the 240 charges any faster than 42 watts or something like that, which was always Jackery's initial issue. They charge so freaking slow. And you're going to have to get MC4, if that's the kind of panel you get. I have rigid panels on the brain all the time because that's what I buy. But you need to get something that will go to 8 millimeter or 7909 is what they put in parentheses. What's up, KL? What's happening? Good to see you. So, who the thunk it says, hello from Ohio. What's up? I've got 6 180-watt Bouge RV panels in series running to the AC 200p. I want to add one HPST 190-watt, but too many volts for 7 panels. How would you add that? That's tough because your numbers are odd now. I don't think you can make that work. In my mind, it's like, I'm not saying this is the solution, but I'm just trying to walk you through thinking it through. So let's say you take 3 panels and you put them in series, and then you take, it doesn't work. Well, okay, let me say this. Let's say you take 3 panels, you put those panels in series, and then you take 4 panels and put those in series, right? And then you put that pairing in parallel. That I feel like that could work. Let me think about that. No, because it'll equalize. That's my understanding of it. So 2040-60, 2040-60, 80, they'll essentially be it'll be like not having a panel at all. It's not balanced. And when you throw something off of that, I'm not using the right term, but when you have that, it'll basically, once you come into parallel is going to combine the amps but leave the volts the same, but then the panels will meet each other at the lowest common denominator. So that 60 volts is going to drag down this 80 volts down to about 60 volts. I'm going to do a video about that because I want to just test it so people can see it visually, but that's the rule of thumb as I understand it. So it's not worth it. Is fall charging better than summer solar? It's all about the heat. So I would say fall charging is better if you angle your panels towards the sun and you have good sun. Yeah, I'm starting to see higher numbers on my panels. The highest numbers that I've seen was when it was colder. I saw my 2 Renogy panels in parallel get up as high as 181 watts during that particular season where it was cooler. I've never seen them go that high on in the summer. Excuse me. Kevin, what's happening, man? I bit the bullet and got the AC 200p. That's what's up, man. That device is nice. It's not like what I would do, but I'm weird, man. I just have to, Okay. Who the thunk says I'm in Ohio and need to overpanel as much as I can. The AC 200p input max solar is 700 watts. Yeah, but your voltage is the thing that's most important. And I don't, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't want to sit here and do that math on your particular situation because I don't know those panels and I don't feel like doing the work. But if that you get to the point where series exceeds your voltage, then there's not much you can do with it. You've done pretty much the best you can, man. Outside of starting to get into 48 volt panels or like 24 volt panels that go up to like 37 volts and all that jazz, but you're still going to run into the same thing, but you have some flexibility to do them from an amp parallel place. So it's something to think about. I hope my explanation kind of helps you to make sense of it so that you can kind of know which way that you go, but I don't see that working. 2%. I gotta hurry up and get me a solar panel somehow since we had that earthquake a few days ago. Man, I do not watch the news, so I don't know what's going on in the world. Thug life. Hey, Diva. What's happening? We just in here chilling, preparing for anything. I dig that. I charge my 240 up with my max. Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a really good idea. I charge my smaller power stations up from my larger power stations all the time. Let me just say, my situation where I had a choice when my EB120 came, and it was to either take two of my panels and just throw them on the EB120 so that it gets 400 watts, but it would have left me with 100 watts up here on the EB70, and I didn't want to do that. So I'd rather have each zone of my house have 200 watts on it. And I could have accomplished that with the two Renogy panels in parallel, but it's just like, I didn't want to be bothered with it, but I could have. But now it's working out really good for me. I get to the point where my panels, my devices, they can kind of get closer to full because we don't use a whole lot of power. And that's what's really cool about it. So getting these 200-watt panels, I was talking with Wayne, and I was thinking about getting the Eclipse 100-watt panel because the output on it is really good. It's like the best 100-watt panel you can buy, but it costs as much as an HUST, and even more. It costs as much as a Rich Solar 200-watt panel. And I'm glad I took his advice and with consideration of my own type of stuff, and I got that 200-watt panel because at the front of my house, I get about 100 watts, 121 watts, 97 watts, 78 watts. But that's perfect, and I'm happy with the decision. Even when it's overcast sometimes, I'll get like 45 watts from it, 50 watts. In the morning when the sun is not even on the panels, I can get like about 15 watts. So you think about that, you cut it in half. If you had a 100-watt panel out there, you would get about 7 watts. And not the absence of sun is not the same as something blocking your panel. Like having shade on your panel is a whole different thing, but ambient light not being blocked by anything, you can still get power from these panels. And a 200-watt panel essentially doubles the output that you would get from a 100-watt panel, which is pretty cool, which is the whole point of over paneling. So it's like that's a perfect scenario where I've paired up 200-watt panels with devices that can take in 200 watts, because then that's perfect. I'm not wasting any power. Sure, you can over panel a power station that can take in 100 watts with a 200-watt panel, but then on a super bright day, you're wasting power. So I would much rather have a power station that can take in that much power because I don't need that much power. But when that power comes in, it has some place to go. The 200 watts, the 181 watts, the 160 watts, the 140 watts, the 100 and realistically like 30 watts, it has a place to go. No problem. It's not capped. I think that that's a really good pairing. Somebody said they live in Jamaica. Smart conserver. I live in Jamaica and I'm on a grid tie system. Can you recommend a solar generator I can have as a backup? That's that's kind of a loose question. Depends on what you're trying to do, how much you're trying to spend, and how long you want your stuff to run. So typically what most people do is they start what they can afford, and you start to kind of get really into solar, and then you kind of start to figure it out. But you need to kind of know what you want to power. I think the sweet spot for most people just to have something that can it can take a little bit of a sigh of relief. It can't like maintain your lifestyle. It's probably not going to save your food or anything like that. Because you want to have about 500 watt hours. That's kind of how I feel about it. And in that device capacity range, you got the EB55, the EB70, the Jackery. I wouldn't buy a Jackery. Um, you got the Babine. You even have the Oops, the OUPES. It was on a really good deal many months ago. I don't know how I feel about the price right now. I wouldn't buy it, but there's a couple options in that range. Hey, Huda Thunker, thanks so much. I'm new to this, and you saved me precious time. That's what's up. Diva says, I got the EcoFlow Delta Mini the other day. So far, I'm pleased. So far, so pleased. Nice. I like the fact that it's like I love LiFePo, but it's cool to have lithium ion because it's lighter, and that's cool. You could pick up something, move it around the house. It's cool. KLP is doing good. Glad you're talking solar. Glad I'm talking solar just in general, as opposed to some other things that I talk about, like race and marriage and politics and all that jazz. The Donald says, can I put two 200-watt panels on the EB150, or is that too much? No, that's not too much. The EB150 is moderately capable in terms of taking solar in. If you have been listening, I talked about the 150 and its voltage being 60, but possibly being 68. I think what they did was they just put it at 60. So, because people, in my brain, I say people are ID10Ts, but I just want to be nicer about it. But it's true. It's like people, they don't read, they just do stuff all willy nilly. It's sad that that's the situation, but in order for them to be on the safer side, they just marked it at 60, and it's supposed to go up to 68. So two 200-watt panels, whether you put them in series or parallel. In series, it's 40 volts, 44 volts, 45 volts. So you're fine. Nicole Fleming says, do you listen to NPR? I don't listen to much. I used to be like a political kind of junkie. I have like political books and stuff like that I would read, and so on and so forth. NPR is something that if I was into doing that kind of stuff or into the kind of stuff that they talk about, I would check them out. Yeah, but I don't listen to any of that stuff now. Fridge says, I am new to solar. I bought a Jackery 240 that was on sale last week. Knowing what you know now, what setup should I start with? What setup should I start with that can power a freezer chest for several hours? A freezer chest? You mean like a DC fridge? Fridge? Several hours. I mean, you really ultimately you just have to figure out how many watts that device uses, and go from there. Most DC fridges use about 35 watts, maybe 40 watts or something like that once everything settles down. So 35 goes into 240 how many times? If you do DC, you're pretty much, you can trust that number. If you're doing AC, you need to subtract anywhere from 9 to 15% from the capacity of your battery. And then that's how much you'll get. On that 1080 watt hookup today, I pulled about 400. Okay, who'd have thunk it got all those panels in series? He pulled about 440 to 450 watts with the panels laying flat. What do you think? That was all day? What area are you in? Because it's not summer anymore, really. So the sun is not super high. Depending on what you have going on, you should probably be pulling about 80% of that rated output. So I don't know. Maybe something's going on weird with your wiring. Email me, solarquestions@askive.com. I can't necessarily say I could devote a whole lot of time to walking you through what may be going on, but that's a better communication venue. Or you could find me on Telegram at AskIveSolar. I also get messages through Instagram under the same name and Facebook under the same name. So, let's see if we could kind of figure it out. Chief Mono Bobo. I bought 6 HUSD 100-watt panels. I've got it wired in series parallel at 24. I'm assuming you mean volts. I only seem to get in 300-ish watts. Full sun with the Victron 7515. Does that sound correct? Wow, 600 watts and you're getting in half. That does not sound correct. I don't know where you are. I don't know what your situation is, but that doesn't sound right. Diva says, and I just realized you can set the charging discharging limits in the app of the EcoFlow Mini Delta. That's really good. That is really nice. I like that a lot. Hey, Miss Queen, what's happening? Broke Farmer, what's happening? Good to see you. Miss Queen and those eyes. That's funny. Signature. 99 says, I don't ride for Jackery for the company, but I like my Jackery 500. I think it holds its own weight power wise. Yeah, it's like, man, that stuff, if you put it in a vacuum, you have power to power your stuff. for the most part, as long as something's quality, you're doing okay. You got power. You're doing good. Let me see what kind of time we're looking at. 54 minutes. All right, we got another 6 minutes. So if you guys have any questions, let it rip. I'll answer what I can in the next few minutes. Byron says, I like the old batteries for backup too. I have the old Gold Zero 1250. So if I need to, I can change the battery myself. That's what's up. I'm not into that, but I salute you. Oh, so let me talk about this whole, I'm trying to figure out a way. I was thinking about giving away my rock pals, and maybe even my Bowdens. And the reason why I want to give them away is because as long as I have them, I'm going to use them. And it's not worth my effort to keep those things around. I mean, they don't burden me or anything like that. But so what I'm going to do is in an upcoming live, I'm only going to mention them in the live. I'm not going to like do videos or something like that because I want it to go to someone in the community. And typically when you advertise stuff, it's like people come out of did they say Woodworth or Woolworth? Woolworth is a store. The Woodwork. I don't know. Anyway. So you kind of have to be on this live and committed to hanging out with me and your fellow live viewers. And then after the live, I'll see how it works. If I can figure out a comment picker, if someone is interesting during that live, I'll tell them what they need to do. Or if they just comment on the video, I'll pick a comment. You have to be in the United States and in the 48 United States just to keep it simple. I'm not in a space where I could pay for shipping and all that jazz. Maybe I could kind of go half on shipping or see how much it is, but I'll figure all that stuff out. But I'll kind of figure my way through these devices. And then when I want to give away devices in the future, that'll kind of be the format until I figure out something better. So I wanted to touch on that. That was in my notes. Fridge says a 10 cubic freezer chest. I mean, you keep saying freezer chest, but I'm guessing you mean you have to mean a DC fridge. When I hear freezer chest, I just hear the thing you put ice in. But I answered in terms of what you need to do ideally. Man, the light is falling apart. That's another thing I'm gonna have to figure out. With it getting darker earlier, where am I gonna do these lives at? What's up, Brenda? Hello. Woodwork, out the woodwork. Thank you, guys. How's my 50 watt foldable panel doing? I have a 100 watt folding panel, and then I have a 50 watt SunPower like flexible panel. I haven't used it recently because it hasn't been super sunny. And with my current setup, I've been kind of settling into that situation. So I typically have enough power now to just hook up my panels. I have enough power now to use my panels and my power stations as it is currently. And I haven't used the Agua in a little bit. I should have another power station or two coming. So it's like I balance it, you know. Dang, this is terrible. Can you turn this light on? My wife is slow walking. Please? Sometime today, please? Okay. She's just going to take her time. All right. Well, that's decent. Y'all see her? This is what I have to deal with. We're having a power outage right now. You know what I mean? It's like short. Our power is unstable. All right. MJ says, I remember Woolworth. My mom used to love Woolworth. Lisa P, have you ever looked into the Mylan? Yeah, it had a really good sale once upon a time, but I think that there's other devices that are more compelling than that. And it's a cool device. I wonder how it's going to work out in the long haul. Everybody who's talked to me about it likes it. 2% says you're too young for Woolworth. 2%, you need to relax. Oh man, it's funny. Just an unrelated thing. Somebody was saying somebody had a post on Facebook and they were saying like people who were born in the 80s are the best. And I was like, early 80s, I dig that. But people who was born in like 84, 85, 86, they're a bunch of weirdos. And really, if we're being honest, the reason why people who are born in the 80s are so cool is because of our older siblings. Let's just be real about it. It's the people who was born in like the late 70s, mid 70s, who are like the coolest. They just weren't the hippest in terms of tech savvy and all that jazz. But all of our influence, all of our like taste in music comes from our older siblings for the most part. So let's just keep it above. That's why people born in the early 80s are so cool. Thanks, Kathy. Thank you so much. So kind. Miss Queen says, I agree. 84 over here. Yeah. There was such a, like, I was born in 83, just to keep it a buck. It seems like there was such a disconnect between me and the people who came up behind me. They seemed like they were smaller. They weren't as something. It was just weird. And I imagine that the people in front of me felt the same way. There's such a disconnect between that's just that 1 year. Kind of funny. I went to school, and in the 6th grade, me and my peers went on to go to high school. That's what high school was called that for us. 7th grade was high school because it was all in one thing in New Orleans. And they skipped them ahead because a lot of my classmates, for lack of a better word, they were held back. In my mind, in my playful mind, I would say they were idiots, but this is me being playful. But they put them ahead. And don't you know those Negroes got brand new, like, because they were 1 year ahead of me. And I was like, fam, we was just in the same class last year. How you gonna act like you don't know me? But, that's a whole nother thing. All right. Oh, okay. Diva is saying no, fridge means a regular AC house freezer. A fridge freezer? Lisa P is saying he means a chest freezer. I mean, that's what he said. I guess what he means is like the thing that I have down in my basement, just a straight freezer. That's hard to say, man. Those things seem to vary. I have one, and its power, it's a little wonky. I can't power it with my smaller power stations, and I feel like I should be able to. I still need to do that video. I'm gonna try and do that video too. My basement is clean now, actually, so I can do that. Your lighting is getting like your first live. My first live was terrible. That's what they say. Y'all see my elbow slip? They say your first videos are your worst videos, and you just have to come to terms with that. All right, these are some interesting viruses. Class of '84. Wow, that's how you feel. That is how I feel, man. I am a baby. I feel like I look younger than I am too. I've always looked younger than I am, and I've always been appreciative about it because a lot of my peers, they don't look younger than they are. At the end of the day, we're all ultimately influenced by the people before us. But people who are born in the 80s, they have the best of both worlds because we were on the cusp of like old school stuff. Like we still played outside. We still had like corded house phones. It's like when older people talk about those things that they reminisce on, we are familiar with those things. But we had Nintendo and Super Nintendo, and AOL, the internet kind of came of age when we were growing up. So we're like the best of, but we're only the best of because of that influence before us. Because these kids that only have that online stuff, they're a bunch of weirdos. Where are your solar light bulbs? I don't have solar light bulbs. I have too many flashlights for that, and I have at least one lamp. So I just use my lamp. I thought about getting a USB light, but then I'd have to hang it from something, and that's so weird. My house is not set up in that way to like hang a light bulb from something because you need the light at the top of the height of your ceiling to cast the light out properly. But you know, all right, let's do these last. That's the deviations are fun. I could talk about deviations all day. 99 says, "Don't make me show my 10 crate record collection with my 2 turntables set up right here." I dig that. It's just like we know about that stuff. My grandmother, like, she had one of those big old things that you would put the records down in. Um, it was like a big system that she could play her records on. It was just like that stuff is nostalgic for sure. Right, what's happening? 70s in the building. That's what's up. Hey, Kimber Jack. Yeah, missed the last couple of lives. That's okay. Darlene says, dang, I feel old. 1964. Hey, age is a blessing. Every day we get here on this earth is another day to keep pushing and doing what we're put here for. Nicole Fleming, AOL. That's what's up. That's what's up. Oh, the dial up sounds. I don't have USB lights. Now, I recently just started to look into the straight up like USB, like flash drive looking ones, because I want to turn some of my power banks into lights because they're 72 watt hours. So if you think about one of those little lights that's 5 volts at 1 amp, that's 5 watts. Those things could run. I mean, 72 divided by 5, you know what I mean? They could run forever. And I don't really use my power banks that much. So I want to turn them into flashlights. We called them hi-fi. Yes, with the 8-track for sure. Had all those buttons, man. That was like a dream to go in there and play with that thing. It's popping. Off-grid adventures. Yo, I finally called it live. That's what's up. We about to call it a day. Miss Queen says I was raised by my great grandparents, great grandmother 1925, great grandfather 1930. This wisdom you can't pay for. It is a blessing. Class of 2003, but different. Okay, I'm done. Yeah, y'all are different. Y'all are certainly different. Diva says she has a USB desk fan that has a ring light. That sounds interesting. I dig it. 2%. If you were born in the 80s, you missed out on the best years. The 80s was the best. Oh, that's weird. Okay, I get it. I get what you're saying. All right, that's it, y'all. Thank y'all for hanging out with me. Kathy, thanks for the live chat coins. I appreciate that. That's very thoughtful of you. Yeah, my lamp draws only 12 watts. Yeah, you need a different lamp prepared for anything. That's too much power, man. I have actually we do have a couple of desk lamps, like variable lights. I don't think about those. I think the most they use is about 10 watts, and they use as little as like 2 or 3 because it has the variable light. 20 watts is a lot. Um, Performance says I got a light bulb with a small solar panel. Pretty cool. Yeah, speaking of the 80s, I'm that whole VCR TV combo thing is weird to me. It was always weird because me being like economic, it's like if one thing broke, it was just like the other thing is broken too. It was weird. So I don't like combo stuff. I'm not really a big fan of that. So a light bulb with a solar panel on it is just it feels weird. But I've never really looked into it closely. All right, I'm out. Y'all be beautiful. Thanks for hanging out. This light is terrible. Let's get up out of here.